Hi, it's Johara. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be reacting to unpopular Harry Potter opinions. This is probably not a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyways because why not? I thought it'd be fun to see people's opinions. I'm probably going to get hurt by some of these, but that's why they're opinions. Um so yeah, I asked on a couple different things I'm at on like Twitter and stuff. A Discord server I'm part of for any unpopular opinions. So I'm going to read some, and I might look online for some unpopular opinions in case I couldn't find enough. But I wanted to go ahead and do this video before I, lost all of the unpopular opinions, and they get lost in like my feed and stuff. So yeah, so let's do this. Oh, and I'm wearing one of my Harry Potter shirts since I'm making this Harry Potter video. I should have worn my Marauders dress. Oh well, I have no idea where that is right now. Actually, I think I do. But I have the Marauders dress, which is like the Marauders map. It's really cool. And then I have this shirt. I have another Harry Potter shirt similar to this. Oh, actually, no, it's not. This has the castle. The other one has like the Hogwarts symbol and then all four houses, I think. I haven't worn that one in a while. I think it doesn't fit me anymore, but I still keep it because it's Harry Potter. Then I have two different Hufflepuff shirts because I'm Hufflepuff. So let's get into it, shall we? Um, let's see. Harry Potter is a mediocre at best series that gets way more praise than it merits due to fans reading way more into what was actually written or intended by the author. Now that I do not agree with. Obviously, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, but J.K. Rowling, there's different types of authors. Obviously, there's pantser, there's plotter, and then there's people that are in between, which is how I am. I'm in between, and she's a hard plotter. Like there are things that she knew that was gonna happen at the very end of the series that she knew before she even wrote a single word, and so the author intended a lot of things. J.K. Rowling I don't like her as a person, obviously. Like, I don't agree with her in a lot of ways. But the one thing I have to do is respect her as an author because she is a great writer. And some of the ways she describes things is just beautiful. Um, and I just, she like she knew how the character stories were gonna play out. I think she knew the couples that were going to end up together. There are a few things she changed along the way, um, obviously, because things like that happens. I know at one point she thought about killing off Ron, but I read somewhere that that was just her depression talking, and she decided not to kill off Ron just because of her depression. She also was originally going to kill off Arthur, um, when he got attacked by Nagini, but she decided not to because she felt like he was the one good dad in the series, and she wanted to keep one good family, like completely good. Yeah, she did kill off a Weasley, but um, and she ended up Lupin and Tonks weren't actually gonna die, but since she decided to keep Arthur alive, she decided to kill off them. How she came to that conclusion, I have no idea, but that's what I read. Um, like the number seven, that has a big thing. There's seven Horcruxes, seven books. There's a few other things, but I can't remember. I saw a whole video on it, and there are yeah, fans read a lot into it, but that's because that's how it was supposed to be. There's a lot of foreshadowing, and like Snape's character, she knew how that was going to end up. I mean, I read somewhere that Alan Rickman would purposely play certain scenes certain ways, and when the directors asked why he played a certain scene this certain way, he just replied with, "Cause I know something you don't." Because J.K. Rowling personally told him how Snape's story was going to end. Because no one knew that Snape was in love with Lily's mom. Obviously, she was the only person that knew that, or Lily's mom, Harry's mom, Lily, and no one knew that the connection about all of that. Only J.K. Rowling and Alan Rickman. She purposely told him so that he would play Snape's character the right way. So, despite her as a person, she's a great author, a great storyteller, and um, so it was so the things that fans read really into was meant to be there. Like the author did put a lot of work. She had most of what she ended up writing planned before she even wrote a single word. She's that kind of a writer. She's that much of a plotter. Because there are several authors out there that plan almost every detail before writing things. And yeah, some things end up changing to fit the story better as they write, and some things end up getting cut out. But for the most part, plotters do plan almost everything to the detail before writing. I mean, not all plotters. There are some plotters that don't do every single little detail, but there are some out there, and she's one of them. So yeah. Um, it also doesn't stand up. This is the same person. It also doesn't stand up to even mild analysis of its flaws and plot holes. I don't think it really has any plot or many plot holes. I know that J.K. Rowling during the fight at the Department of Mysteries, she purposely had all the time turners destroyed because she needed the time turners for what she planned for book 3, but having the time turners be around is a major plot hole. Well, it could be major plot holes, like the story behind the time turners and stuff. So she had all the time turners be destroyed so that those plot holes are closed. The plot holes that could be potentially created by the time turners. So I feel like she thought through most of these. Like, so I don't really think there's any plot holes that I can think of. And I'm currently reading the series for the millionth time. I'm on the last book, so uh let's see, find another one. Um, trying to find another one. I wasn't a fan of romances in the series. I liked Half-Blood Prince with the flashbacks of Voldemort, who is my favorite character in the series after Dumbledore. I mean, I don't like the way the movies did it. Like Half-Blood Prince movie kind of focused more on the romance, which it wasn't the point. Like I liked how it was just there. It's like, I mean, so something I realized recently actually, because I was talking about my two favorite series is Harry Potter and Seekers, and somehow ended up comparing them. I don't think I was actually comparing them. I was just talking about both of them, and then I mentioned something. I mentioned why Seekers is one of my all-time favorites because it's such an underrated series, and well, one of the reasons. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's a lot like Harry Potter in the sense that they the main characters in both series start off really young, so there's no romance or anything. They don't have those. They don't have feelings for anybody for a while because they are just really small children. Um, but then um, as they grow up, they obviously start having feelings for people and or bears in Seeker's case, and they start getting close romantically. But even though they did, that didn't take away the overall. Because in both series, I feel like one of the main things, I mean, for Seekers is the main thing, but for Harry Potter's, one of the main things is the friendship between the main characters. For Harry Potter's, obviously the Golden Trio: Ron, Harry, and Hermione, and then for Seekers is the main friend group between Kalik, Udrak, Toklo, and Lusa, and and I love that even after they did start having romantic feelings for other people, it didn't. In both series, it didn't take away from the. They didn't try to overshadow. Like I feel like a lot of books, even if the romance wasn't the main thing, I feel like the romance aspect can overshadow it. And that's why when I have romance in my books that I write, I that's not the main point. I don't have it overshadow it because there's so many more important things than the romance. I even have one series planned where there's no romance at all. It's about these two people or mythical creatures. It's about mermaids and fairies, and the mermaids and fairies are enemies, and these two girls end up meeting and they form this strong bond, and it's gonna be platonic throughout the entire thing. I have a feeling people are gonna ship them just because people like to do that, but no, there's not gonna be any romantic relationship between them, and they fight for their friendship despite everything. And don't get me wrong, I have some couples that I adore, that I ship and everything, but there are so much more important things than just romance, and there's other relationships that are just important, if not more important, like friendships and family. And that's why I realized that my two favorite series, which are complete opposites in many ways, both have that one thing in common. I was like, huh, maybe that's why they're both my favorite series. um, I got into this long-winded speech, rant. Okay, but like, I so Ron or okay, okay. So Jenny and Harry are my favorite couple in the books. I Ron and Hermione are in the movies. I feel like Ron and Hermione are still my second favorite in the books. I just feel like since it is in Harry's point of view, like in the movies we got to see some scenes with just Ron and Hermione because it didn't follow just Harry. In the books it followed just Harry. So um so because of that, Ron and Hermione, I wish we got to see more of them, of just the two of them, and not seeing them through Harry like we did in the movies. That's why they're my favorite in the movies. I also feel like they ruined Harry and Jenny's relationship, obviously. But in the book, like in Half Blood Prince, they just have Harry all of a sudden have feelings for Jenny out of the blue. Um, and in the book, you can see it him slowly have feelings for her, and throughout the year, and they get closer. And he's seen her in a way he never did before, because now starting in Order of Phoenix, she was able to talk to him and stuff, and she was so much more confident. She was herself um, for the first time in front of Harry. And in Half-Blood Prince, he no longer had the Cho drama to deal with, and he did start spending time with Jenny, and then he started seeing her in a different way, and he started getting jealous of Jenny and Dean, and then he kept telling himself that no, this isn't. I don't like her. This is just me being overprotective, me being big brotherly because Ron is my best friend because I've known her forever. But he eventually had to realize that he did love her. And one thing I hated in Half Blood Prince was when after Harry and Ginny had their first kiss. I also liked how it was done better in the book, obviously, but when they did have their first kiss in the movie, um, uh, Ron asked Harry what happened or did he do it, and then he just kind of he didn't tell Ron, and I feel like they took away Harry's biggest dilemma in Half-Blood Prince. Harry's biggest dilemma was the fact that Ron was his favorite person in the entire world. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, they practically admitted that Ron was Harry's favorite person in the world in Goblet of Fire. That's why they took him for Harry's underwater challenge, because they wanted to take the person that means the most to him, and that was Ron. Dobby even says that, and J.K. Rowling wrote that up intentionally, so you know that Ron is Harry's favorite person in the entire world. And even though he was falling in love with Jenny, he was terrified of losing his friendship with Ron because that was the most important thing for him. I mean, even throughout the books, that Harry says that as much as he cares about Hermione, as much as she is one of his best friends, there's something I don't remember how he puts it, but he mentions it a few times throughout the books that his friendship with Ron is different. It's not better. I don't remember how he puts it, but basically he's saying that he is closer to Ron, and I feel like even I feel like the directors of Harry Potter just were biased towards Hermione, so that's why they made Ron's character worse, and that's why they made everything about Hermione a lot of times because her and which is a thing I hate about the movies. I don't get me wrong, they're my favorite movies of all time, but there are things that are wrong with them, obviously. But there's actually a few things that I prefer in the movies and the books, but I'll get into that in another video. Um, but I lost my train of thought. Um, but yeah, and so I don't know how you can just. It's one thing to be mad to the romances, but I don't feel like they played a big enough part for you to plain out dislike them. But your opinion, I liked how they were done because they were done delicately and it showed them slowly start to have these feelings and that they can't explain like in real life, you know? And I really like that because I feel like a lot of people do put pressure on the romantic aspects, but J.K. Rowling didn't. Neither did Aaron Hunter and Secrets. That's why uh those are my favorite series. Okay, Ron is um Ron is one of my least favorite characters. I don't know why. I just didn't like how rude or bullheaded he could be. He wasn't rude or bullheaded. I mean, all the characters have flaws. Okay. Hermione has a lot of flaws. I know there's a lot of Hermione stands out there. I know she's a lot of people's favorite character, and I do like her. I mean, lately, the way I've been talking about her in some of my videos have been making it sound like I dislike her or even hate her, but I don't. I just, I get very aggravated because it's like, how can everybody love Hermione? Like, how could she be people's favorite character? I mean, she is selfish. The whole SPEW thing was selfish. I mean, yeah, I get it, and the theory behind what she was doing was noble, but house elves like their lives despite everything. Well, most house elves. Dobby was the exception. And look at how Winky was after she was dismissed by her owner, her master, Crouch. She was a mess, and she was drinking, and she was still wouldn't talk bad about him, even though now she technically could. And um, because that's the life house elves like. Dobby wanted to be free. I mean, to be fair, he did have it worse than a lot of house elves. I feel like not every house elf had such bad masters that treated them as bad. I mean, yeah, there are obviously some. I don't. So, there's that. But Hermione just gets on my nerves. She can be very selfish as she's a know-it-all. She thinks she's better than everybody, and she just gets on my nerves. Um, Ron, on the other hand, his one fatal flaw is his jealousy. He gets jealous, but is also understandable, unlike Hermione's flaws. I mean, he gets probably less attention than any of his other siblings, and he had a lot of siblings, so the attention wasn't that big, anyways. I mean, Bill, Charlie, and Percy got attention because they were great students. They were like head boys and stuff, prefects, whatever. Got great grades, and they all went off to do something great with their lives after graduating Hogwarts. Jenny was the only girl. Fred and George were the troublemakers. Um, and where does that leave Ron? I mean, he did help save the world all these times, but who cares about that, right? But I mean, I saw this post a while ago, and it said all the amazing things about Ron. I wonder if I can find it. Okay, I found it. Yay. Okay, so I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to find it, but I did. in one of my old phones. So it says Ron Weasley offered the stranger sitting next to him on the train half of his sandwich, even though it was all he had. Ron Weasley sacrificed himself for the good of Harry and Hermione at age 11 because even though he thought they were more important than he was and the ones worth saving, Ron Weasley was Harry Potter's first friend, and the first thing Harry had ever had was simply a family. Ron Weasley lived in a cramped house and wore hand-me-down robes, and he didn't even think twice about offering his room and his food and his family to Harry every break. um, Ron Weasley took care of Harry Potter and Hermione Granger when they were too busy taking care of the rest of the world to worry about themselves. Ron Weasley stood on broken bones when he was 13 years old to tell a man infamous for murder that if he planned on killing his best mate, he would have to go through him first. Ron Weasley was the person Harry would miss most in the world. Ron Weasley was a pure-blood wizard who, from a very young age, devoted his life to abolishing blood status, even if he didn't quite understand his own privilege. Ron Weasley gave Dobby his own clothes and socks to be buried in because he understood how important it would have been to him. Ron Weasley thought about saving the house elves when everyone else forgot. If you don't love Ron Weasley, the boy who cared, I don't know what books you read, but they weren't the same ones I did. I love that, like, a lot, because it's so true. Like, everyone, I feel the same way about Xander on Buffy Vampire Slayer. He was my favorite character, and everyone can only see his flaws, even though there are some things that other characters did that was worse than anything he has ever done. And they ignore all of his amazing qualities, and I feel like sometimes that happens to Ron too. And I feel like that's because people based it off in the movie. I mean, I feel like Ron was a lot like Ron in movie 1, but after movie 2, they decided to turn him into this. Actually, no, I think they even did him dirty in movie 1, because it was him that found out about the devil's snare, that knew about the devil's snare, and Hermione and Harry freaked out, not Ron. And they just took that away to give it to Hermione. I think they partially did that because they were going to cut out the potion scene. Um, and they wanted to give Hermione her big test because they're all three of them were supposed to have a test, but that wasn't supposed to be a test at all. It was just supposed to be a barrier to stop them. But yeah, I'm just very passionate about Ron. He's my favorite character, if you cannot tell, and I feel like he can be very underrated, or maybe not underrated. Like Lupin's underrated. He's also one of my favorite characters, but I just feel like he can be overhated, I guess. And I feel like Hermione is very overrated. That's my unpopular opinion for anyone who cared. I went to a long rant defending Ron because he's the best character. Oh crap, I lost my place. Now I have to find it. I was afraid that was gonna happen. Okay, I think I found it. Almost. Okay, I found it. I found my place. Yay! I don't understand the Harry-Jenny relationship. When it didn't work out with Cho, I was upset as a kid. As an adult, I totally get it, but I still don't get Harry and Jenny. I was afraid someone would say this. But Harry and Jenny, like I said, is my favorite book couple. And that's because um I feel like so Ginny gets Harry in a way no one else does. I mean, she is beautiful. She had every boy wanted her, but that's not why Harry fell in love with her. I mean, he knew her better than most people other than her family because he spent so much time with her and her family. Well, after Order of Phoenix, he really got to know her. But she loves Quidditch like him. Like Hermione could never understand Quidditch. Um, and uh, so I'm looking on my phone for one of my old phones for a something because I read something about Harry and Jenny which explains why Harry fell for her. That might help so I can better explain it in words. Because okay, when I get really passionate, I talk a lot and I have trouble expressing what I'm trying to say. Um, but I found this and I wanted to quickly share it because there's also a lot of people that don't understand the whole Ron and Hermione relationship. I think those are people that ship Hermione and Harry. That I could never see. But and after Hermione was tortured in Deathly Hallows and Dobby did the whole chandelier, as the chandelier falls, everyone dives out of the way. Harry, Draco, everyone except Ron. Ron dives toward it in order to grab Hermione and get her to safety. Why do people ship anything but Hermione again? He's the only one that stayed upright and moved towards the potentially deadly falling object to save the woman he loves. That is all. Yeah, I had to share that because I am a sucker for Hermione and Henny. They are my top couples. I'm also a big fan of Lupin and Tonks, but um, I wish we got to see more of them in the books and the movies. I wish we got more of Lupin, period. He's so underrated in the books and in the movies. I mean, the movies didn't do him justice, but to me, neither did the books. I mean, I'm sorry, Sirius was not the last father parent figure for Harry, because Harry still had Lupin for a while at least. And I mean, um, Lupin is just, he cared and he was amazing and he was always there for Harry. So yeah. Also, um, Ron was always the first and only one to defend Hermione. Like, there's the whole I keep getting off topic. Time that he ended up having slugs come out of his mouth because he tried to hex Draco with a broken wand. I mean, he tried to hex Creature and basically anyone who ever called Hermione Mudblood. I also feel like the movies constantly forgot the fact that Hermione was Muggle-born, because there are several things that in the movie that Hermione shouldn't have known, because at least in the beginning movies, because yeah, she likes to read and all that, but there are some things that she even was oblivious to that Ron knew, because he was the only one that grew up in a wizarding family that knew all these things. I mean, in the book, Hermione had no idea what a mudblood was. She only got so upset was because the way everyone reacted to it, she knew it was bad. Plus, it was Draco saying it, and the way he said it. That's why she reacted that way. But she didn't know what a mudblood was. Ron did. Hermione didn't know how to defeat the Devil Snare. Ron did. So the movies were just biased towards Hermione, and that is my biggest issue with the movies. Other than how they did Jenny's character later on too, because I actually feel like they did her character justice up until Half-Blood Prince. Then they treat her as nothing but a love interest. But anyways, back to Harry and Jenny. Oh, I actually replied to that comment, so I'll just read this because I couldn't find what I was looking for. Jenny makes Harry laugh and forgets his troubles when no one else could. She's also the only person to truly understand how it is to have Voldemort in her head, which is true. But she had to go through it alone because she did. Like even in Half-Blood Prince, she makes that comment because Harry had forgotten about Voldemort being in Jenny's head. Everyone had. And she basically had to go through it alone. Harry at least has Ron and Hermione always. I lost my place. She's also not afraid to call him out on his crap, which is also seen when she brings up the whole Voldemort thing and she shuts him down immediately. She's the only one that's not that. I feel like everyone, even Ron and Hermione at times, can tiptoe on glass around him when stuff like that happens, because Dumbledore, the teachers, everyone does it except for Jenny. After Order of Phoenix, and she is more confident and she does speak in front of him and stuff, she will call him out when he is acting like that and acting all pity and stuff. And I love that. I guess that's true. I guess just didn't see any chemistry. Really, I don't see much chemistry in any of the characters romantically, but I admit that not being a very romantic person myself. I get that I'm not the biggest romantic person. I totally didn't see the signs for Ron and Hermione until I was an adult. I always saw them. Ron and Hermione are opposites. And they balance each other out, which I love. This is another comment that I did to reply to it, but it says Ron was always the only one to defend Hermione, like I mentioned. Got detention when Snape called her a know-it-all, by book lore, because movie lore messed that up as well. Always was ready to fight, even though he's not a fighter. Okay, Ron is not a fighter, but when it comes to someone even just calling Hermione an awful name, he's wand ready. And then I mentioned the whole chandelier thing. I thought Ron was pretty mean to Hermione and for the first two books. Okay, not in the second book because that is the first time that he truly defends Hermione, and he defends Hermione like every book after that. But that was my place. But see, the thing is that Hermione wasn't nice to Ron either. She was a jerk. She was being a surf. She what? I mean, Snape wasn't completely wrong. Yeah, it was wrong for him to say it in front of the entire class like that, but he wasn't wrong. She is an insufferable know-it-all, and she gets on my nerves. Don't get me wrong, I do like her, and I like her friendship with Harry. I love her relationship with Ron. I like her relationship with Jenny later on as well. But Hermione wasn't great to Ron at first either. I mean, what Ron said wasn't nice, but I mean, I don't 100% blame him because she was kind of being a jerk to him, acting like she was better than him because she knew how to do the spell and he didn't. It was like their first day. So, like, seriously, she thinks she's better than everybody. She gets on my nerves. Okay. Also, I'm getting very ranty in this video. Also, SPEW was the worst part of Harry Potter, possibly worse than Umbridge. I mean, hmm. I do agree that SPEU was one of the worst parts of Harry Potter. Worse than Umbridge is debatable, but um, I agree. I already got. I'm not gonna talk too much about that one because I did get into it a little bit earlier when I was talking about uh Hermione being selfish. I mentioned SPEW, so yeah. Luna and Harry would have been the most adorable couple. Hmm. No. I'm a huge Harry and Jenny shipper, so I am completely 100%, 110% biased. But I do love their friendship, and I wish we got more of their friendship. Um, it was a disservice to the series that Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff were to explore more. Now that I can completely get behind. I completely agree. Um, I definitely think that we should have gotten more Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, and I may only be, and I am partly saying that because I am a Hufflepuff myself. My best friend is a Ravenclaw. Well, she claims to be a Ravenclaw. The test said she was Slytherin, but shh. Um, but yeah. So I agree. I also find it bogus that the only two Hufflepuff characters we really get into both die. Just throwing that out there. I think the only Hufflepuff characters we really get into at one point or another is Cedric and Tonks, and yet they both die. Um, Order of the Phoenix is my favorite book and movie probably as well. Now, is I don't think it's my favorite book. I mean, I do love that we get to see Jenny more, and I do love the whole Jenny, Luna, and Neville going with Ron, Hermione, and Harry to the Department of Mysteries for the fight. But even so, I'm not gonna talk too much about this because I am gonna make a whole separate video for it. But even though the books are better for the most part, there are a few details I like that was done better in the movies, whether it was a few character arcs, few character relationships, or certain scenes that I liked better in the movie. But Horde of Phoenix is the only one where, even though I love the book, it was the only one where I actually preferred the movie because I love the fights at the end. I love how the six characters stay together instead of being split up, and the fight was chaotic and it was dragged out a lot because they kept touring the ministry. I guess J.K. Rowling wanted to show what the ministry looked like. Like, this is not the time, we are about to go to battle. Like, this is something that's been long awaited. We've been waiting for this battle the entire book. Um, so we did not want to see a tour of the ministry. And I also love the fight is one of my favorite fights. Actually, it might be my second favorite fight in the entire series. After the final fight, obviously in Deathly Hallows Part Two. Um, but I was my dog again. um, and I also absolutely love um when Voldemort's trying to possess Harry, and then he sees Ron and Hermione, and their friendship brings him out. Because the whole point of the books in the first place is love is the most powerful thing. I mean, it all started because of the love spell that Lily put on Harry when Lily jumped in front of the killing curse, taking the blow instead of Harry. To save him. It was her love that saved him that night, and her love saved him a lot afterwards. Um, and so and I just love that scene. It's such a powerful scene to see all those flashbacks, and it shows you how important Ron and Hermione are to Harry, and I absolutely love it. Because, like I said, why it's one of my favorite scenes is partially because of the friendship aspect, and I love that the movie added that part that was not in the book. It was just so beautiful. I don't think the Prisoner of Azkaban movie is that great, especially not as an adaptation. I don't agree with that. I do agree with maybe Prisoner of Azkaban is slightly overrated because I feel like book and movie wise is a lot of people's favorites, and think and I don't agree. The only thing I do, I mean, I love it obviously book and the movie. Um, but I'd say the thing I love most about it is Lupin's introduction because it's when we get the most of Lupin because like I said Lupin was done dirty in the books and the movies and I love Lupin. So um Deathly Hallows is also literally just Lord of the Rings. I actually rather like that but about it, but I've never heard anyone else talk about it. I never actually seen Lord of the Rings or read it, so I can't really comment on it. But so we're gonna move on. Okay, I think that's the last one on here. Wait, no. Um, yeah, okay, so that's the done for this, but I have more, just to me. Okay, over on. Crap, I lost it. I have to go find it now. Um, but yeah, because I have a few more. I don't think I have that many more, though, so we're almost done. I just got very ranty in this video. Here it is. Um, okay. Snape isn't a good guy. He doesn't have a redemption arc. He has an arc of selfishness and then lands him in a spot between the two most powerful wizards of the day, and he must play off both to survive. Always is creepy. Always, because I'm sure you Harry Potter fans know what that is. Um, Someone replied to that said, "No, it's not creepy to mourn someone you had a close relationship with once, even if there was a fallout, and how is it selfish? She never gained nothing from the whole deal." Um, it's not creepy that he mourned her. My laptop's gonna die. Let me plug it in. It's not creepy that he mourned her. It's creepy because he was more obsessed with her. I feel at times, and it's like, yeah, he was in love with her, but that was also a really long time ago. Like, and you can still be sad that she died. But she was never in love with him. She loved him like a friend. He was her first friend and showed her the ropes in the magical world when she was new to it. But that's it. They were childhood friends, nothing more. And I agree for the most part. And I feel like nowadays that isn't that unpopular anymore. I feel like when Deathly Hallows first came out, the book and the movie, Snape was all the hype because everyone loves Snape now because we find out the truth. We find out he's been working on the good side all along, that he was in love with Harry's mom. And I still hate the fact that he named his son after him. I don't care if he died a hero. He still tormented him for all those years, and I think that was a disservice to Remus because Remus should have been named after one of his children because Remus was a parent to him. I don't care what anyone says. Just doing my Remus dirty again. But anyways, and I just And I do think he cared about Dumbledore. You could see the pain in his face when he had to kill him. But, uh, and when Alan Rickman died, there was all that hype over Snape as well. And there was, the word always became this whole big thing because of it. Um, but last few years, I think a lot of people realized how awful Snape of a person Snape really was. I mean, Draco wasn't a good person either, but I feel like it's different because Draco was changing slowly. I wish we did get to see his redemption arc full force. Um, but Snape was just not a good person. The writing really isn't that great. Not that I disagree. I mean, the writing was beautiful. Um, I absolutely hate how everyone loves Snape come the last book, like his one confession that he was obsessed with Lily. Um, erases 7 years of child abuse, and don't hate Dumbledore come the last book because he literally used children to do his dirty work twice. Now, I never heard about the Dumbledore part. And I don't think Dumbledore was using children to do his dirty work. I mean, Harry wanted to go along with a lot of it because he was at the center of it. I mean, it wasn't just about Harry. That was Harry's fatal flaw. Like I said, all the characters have flaws. And Harry's was that he thought it all was about him. And yes, he was at the center of it, but it wasn't just about him. Voldemort wanted to take over the entire world, decimates hundreds of families, so it was about everyone. And the fact that he kept making it all about him was a little conceited, if you ask me. Um, But the whole Snape thing, I agree because I don't like Snape. I don't think I ever did. I mean, hearing all the people talk about Snape is the first time I've actually expressed my own Snape dislike. But I never loved Snape. Not even when everyone else started loving Snape. I never loved him. Cause I was like, okay, he loved her mom. There's no excuse for treating Harry like that for all those years, and you hate his dad, that's also no excuse for treating him like that for all those years. I mean, he is not his dad. I mean, even in no, not Prisoner of Azkaban, wrong movie. Um, no, yeah, no, Order of Phoenix. Okay, sorry, Order of Phoenix. Um, Harry saw what kind of person his dad was, and he was disgusted because he always thought his dad was this great person because everyone told him his dad was this great person. Serious more than anything. But then he sees what the kind of person he was, and Harry was never like that. Despite that one flaw, he is a good person and has a good heart, and he would never bully someone just because he could, unlike James. That's another thing. James isn't a good person. Like people, and I feel like James and Lily's relationship was just as toxic as Lily and Snape's. Professor Krill was a gay stereotype. That's different. She portrayed him as overly dramatic, wimpy, and even his name sounds like queer. And of course, he was the bad guy in the end. I don't really have much to say to that. I never saw it like that. And I mean, even though we know now that J.K. Rowling is transphobic, I mean, I don't think she's homophobic just because as soon as Deathly Hallows was released, she even said in an interview long before Fantastic Beasts, she said that she always saw Dumbledore as gay. She wrote him to be gay. So I don't think she would make Quill this awful stereotype if she and have when she had Dumbledore be gay all along. Half-Prince introducing but not doing anything with the Inferius is just another example of how she, who must not be named, doesn't know how to plot for craft. Well, like I said she does plot a lot. And the Inferius had their point. What would it do to give them another plot that didn't have that would just feel out of place? Also, book Voldemort sucked and movie Voldemort was way better. At least that dude could fight and didn't spend 40 pages monologuing about his evil deeds just to get his butt beat in a fight 2 seconds later. I'm gonna be rereading Deathly Hallows soon anyway, so um I don't remember him monologuing though. I mean, I guess he did in Goblet of Fire when he first returned, but he had a lot of beef to carry out for just returning. Um, but that happened in the movie too. It wasn't just a book. Hmm. Last one, I swear, but Deathly Hallows Part 2 was a crap movie. Okay, that is my favorite movie, so disagree. I love everything about it. There's some things I even like better than the book. I love Neville's character. I love the fight a lot better. And I love that one scene when Ron, Harry, and Hermione are running through trying to get away. I think this is right before they find out about Snape and stuff. And you see something from each movie. You see a troll from Sorcerer's Stone. You see giant spiders from Chamber of Secrets. You see Dementors from Prisoner of Azkaban. Um, I don't think you see it. I'm trying to think because I can't think of anything from Goblet of Fire, but then you see the Order from Order of Phoenix. Um, and then they go to see Snape, which is the Half-Blood Prince. So yeah, and I really liked that little thing. It was really neat on the movies aspect. Um, that banked on nostalgia instead of focusing on making a decent film. I do not agree. Never forgive them for doing Alan Rickman so dirty by making him say you have your mother's eyes and then not even bothering to give Lily and Harry matching eyes. Why? I mean, they do that throughout the entire franchise because they do have different eyes. I mean, Harry's supposed to have green eyes, and he does not. I mean, he could do contacts, but I guess that was too much work. But I did like that little thing because in the book, his last words were just "look at me," because he wanted to see Lily's eyes. But I like the movies how the movie added in you have your mother's eyes. I feel like even though I don't like Snape's character, I feel like that was a good end to his arc. And but yeah, but like I said, I feel like Lily's relationship with um James was just as toxic as her relationship with Snape because Snape was obsessed with Lily and he did, call her mudblood because he was just upset at the moment and aggravated because of James. What James but James had a crush on Lily for years, or even though he tormented people and she hated him. But then all of a sudden, she doesn't fall for him until his 37th year when he cleans up his act. But he I mean, in that one flashback, he even legit says, "I'll let him go if you go on a date with me." That's extortion. That's blackmail. I mean, that's toxic right there. He's basically trying to force her to go on a date with him by using his her friend against her. And how do people think that's a good relationship? I mean, honestly, I think that's one of the most toxic relationships in the series. And I know they were supposed to be this great love story before they died, but they weren't. I mean, they only had those 4 years together because they died young. They had a son young, but they are toxic, just like Lily and Snape is. That's my unpopular opinion. But that is it for this video. um, I ranted a lot. Sorry about that. um, I guess I just had a lot to say about some of these topics, which I did, and I got a little off topic every so often, but that just happens to me. um, but comment if you agree with any of these. Like, subscribe, comment if you agree with any of these. Comment if you agree with my unpopular opinion, because I would like to know about it. I'd honestly like to know what a lot of you think about James and Lily's relationship, just because I never hear anyone bash it even though I think I hate it worse than Snape and Lily's relationship. Now that's a real unpopular opinion. So I would like to know how you all feel about um their relationship and all these unpopular opinions. And if you agree with any of them, disagree with any of them, agree with me on my counter arguments with all of these, and I'll talk to you guys later. Until next time.